Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Doctors of Running Virtual Roundtable, where we, three doctors of physical therapy, discuss the art and the science to the stuff that we're putting on our feet. But today, it's not just us three. We get to welcome Thomas from Believe in the Run. We are so thankful that he's coming on today just to geek out with us, learn him a little bit more about what he's up to. Thanks for joining us, Thomas.
My pleasure. I'm excited to talk about what's going on in the shoe world. And also, you guys could probably help me diagnose things that I'm getting wrong.
That'd be great. So before we even start, disclaimer for me, I am currently at home with our two kids up at nap time and my wife's not here. And so if I leave, it's to help one of these little folks, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. So
are they in crates right now? Like, are they?
We got one in a crate and one in like an open crate.
Like a box.
Yeah. No.
I mean, if you guys are like me, you probably have like so much cardboard come to the house with
we literally could.
Yeah.
So let's start here. Thomas, why don't you tell us a little bit about your running history and maybe a favorite running memory, but how'd you get into running?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because they're kind of the same thing. My favorite running memory, or one of them, is kind of wrapped up in that. My father had dementia, and so I kind of watched him fall apart, but his body was really strong. And so it took a long time for the disease to take him down. And he actually started showing signs of it very early in his early 50s and deteriorated quite a bit. So as I watched that whole thing and I saw how strong his body was and that his mind was deteriorating, there's two things I wanted to do. I was like, one, I can clearly do long distance if I saw the strength of my father. But two, I felt like I needed to do something physical to help my brain. And I don't see exercise as separate from mental health. I think that they're so closely intertwined that I know some people need medication, but I do think a lot of people would benefit from just physical exercise. So to get into the memory part, my father passes away. I'm out. I'm kind of like in a low point in my life. And I go to the Baltimore running festival's 5K. And I get there and there's all these, I was at that point, maybe I went out drinking a little too much, maybe even been smoking some cigarettes here and there out at bars. And I'm just like, looking for love in all the wrong places kind of thing. But, I go to a running event and I see all these healthy, happy, motivated people. And I was like, I want to get some of this. And I ran the 5K. And afterwards I was walking into a popular area in Baltimore where they serve up beers outside, and I was talking to a guy and I looked at him and he just finished the half marathon and he didn't look like what I thought a runner would look like. So I was like, if that dude can run a half marathon, I could run a half marathon. So I called a friend who was a marathon runner. I was like, hey, look, I want to train for a half marathon. He goes, sign up for a marathon. You'll run a half marathon on your way to the marathon. And it was stupid advice, but it was great advice. And I trained for my first marathon. And after that, I was like, I don't want to lose. I felt like I had been sedentary and not healthy after college. And all of a sudden I felt alive again. And I was like afraid to lose that feeling. So I jumped in full throttle after that and was like, okay, what's the next thing? Got to keep going. I think a lot of runners, two things happen. You do that, you run a marathon and you're like, that's it, I'm done. Or you're like, okay, I can do that. What else can I do?
Hooked for life. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that story. That's a deep story about yourself. So I appreciate you sharing that out there. And and just the beauty of what running in the community can do to bring somebody in from where you were and bringing you to a whole new trajectory. It's pretty awesome. Mel, what were you going to say?
Thomas brings up a great point, by the way, and I'm sorry to be the PhD and geek out on this, but for a lot of mental health and for a lot of the psychological stuff out there and for a lot of other pathologies, physical exercise is one of the few things that routinely tops out, even in these giant like Cochrane reviews, which are these amazing reviewers that take all this research and try to put it together. Physical activity and exercise is one of the few things repeatedly that continues to be a benefit, both of slowing down or even sometimes like almost stopping the progression of a lot of these diseases. And that's why people need to move. And that's why, you know,
both physical and mental.
Yes, both physical and mental. And that's why, you know, for us having Thomas on, it's amazing because not only have you taken this for yourself, but you are also doing this for other people with the communities that you've created. So we'll talk about grit in a second, but that's why I think that what you're doing is awesome, because it's really lives.
Yeah. I think it's okay.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I think it's interesting that you bring up that they're so intertwined between, say, running and physical activity and mental health and psychological state, because when you take a look at pharmaceutical drugs, they essentially make a change on your physiology through chemistry. And through activity, you can do the same exact thing. And so it's just, they're very closely intertwined.
I mean, it's hard for me when I look back, even if I see pictures or just think back to that time, of how much of a different person I am because of running. And I also like to just think of it like, sometimes I go for my morning run and it feels like the blood is cleaning out my brain. Like I feel like it's like sweeping out the crap. And you know, you get home, and the days I don't run and you don't get that sweat on, you're I'm a little slower mentally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was out for like 6 weeks with a stress fracture. I'm kind of coming out of that right now. And all of a sudden I had this like really hard couple days, and my wife was like, well, it's because you're not running, man. You haven't been out, like moving. I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I'm like
we can't let that slide by though. How does a doctor of running get a stress fracture?
I know. Not listening to your advice is one major thing. I thought that's why I went into the profession, because I was like, you know what? If I go be a PT, I'm immune. I'll be immune. But it turns out you have to listen to what you know, and realize I don't do that sometimes.
Well, maybe it'll give you empathy for your patients.
Yeah, it definitely. Oh, that's for sure. And just the real brief story on the stress fracture was, I was going to run the Milwaukee Lakefront Marathon. It got canceled. They offered full refunds or a deferral to the next year. So I just did a deferral. And then we were kind of in a busier state of life with our kids, and the marathon training was taking a lot more time than was most beneficial for our family. So I was like, you know what, with whatever I got in my training so far, I'm just going to go run it. And it was, I just wasn't there yet in my training, and then I paid for it. So there's a reason we train for stuff, especially, you know, like I'm more of like a half marathon and below guy. I've only done one marathon before that in my life. So it's anyway, that's the
it's hard to push the brake when you're ready to go.
Yeah,
definitely.
So
none of us are immune.
Well,
if you expose your body to more stress than it can handle, that's what happens. And we all, you know,
it might fracture.
Yeah.
Oh, it happens. I mean, just 2 days ago, I was on the track and I sprinted, like really sprinted for the first time, and I can't even remember how long. And I've been feeling it. I actually have a precautionary day off today because of it. So.
Oh no.
But I'm good. I'll be back at it tomorrow. But
yeah. I mean, I broke a metatarsal in my foot. It was while I was reviewing minimal shoes. But,
that makes sense. That's exactly how that works.
I felt it in my foot, and I was like, something's weird, but I'm not a doctor. You know, something's weird with my foot, and I kept running. And it was a Charleston Marathon. I went to it, and I trained for it. I wanted to run it. And about, I'd say, a quarter mile to go, it felt like I got hit by lightning. And as soon as I crossed the finish line, I couldn't put weight on my foot, and I was out for it. Ruined. I was supposed to go to Comrades. I was signed up. I already put deposits on stuff, and I lost my deposit and about $3,000, and was in a boot for 4 months.
Oh man,
it was a tough nut.
Oh, well, let's transition out of this.
Stop lifting.
I'm taking a history.
Let's go into origins of Believe in the Run, how that all got rolling, and kind of what have been your goals and your vision with that? Like, why did that all start up?
Well, remember when I said after I did the first running in the marathon, I was like, oh, what's next? I run a couple marathons, and I had a friend who just run the Marathon des Sables that I would run like all the time with. And he's like, you can do anything, you can, whatever. So I was like, all right. I signed up for the Trans Rockies run, which was like 120 miles over the Rockies in 6 days.
Gosh.
No, it's like summer camp for runners. It's the best. And so I was getting ready for that, and I was like, I never want to be the charity runner or raising money. But this is back in like I want to say 2009 or so. And I was like, all right, I'll start a website to, one, keep me accountable for training, and two, so that I can raise money for the Baltimore Child Abuse Center. So I was like, cool, this will be fun. And so I started posting stuff, and nobody really cared about my training. And all they would care about was, oh, what shoe are you wearing for that? Oh, you got sticks to go up for the mountain? What kind of poles did you get? And so I started talking about that. More and more response came, and then companies started saying, hey, would you like to try our running poles? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. Now, at the time, there wasn't really a lot of websites for running back then. Matter of fact, it was pre-Instagram. It was Facebook was there and happening pretty solid. But, there was Facebook, and there was a website I used a lot called Daily Mile. And I just loved Daily Mile. The community that was there was awesome. And it introduced me to Peter Larson from Run Blogger. And he came down, and I did some runs with him. Like, we did the Hat 50K together. And then I did, I'm pretty sure Pete was on one of our Ragnar teams. I'm not sure. But he kind of became a mentor to me on the website stuff, and introduced me to brands and things like that. And the next thing I knew, I was pretty dialed in with, brands sending gear for me to check out, started doing little videos and stuff. They sucked. Like, my advice is just do something, and you'll figure out how to get better at it. But it's like running. You just do it.
Just do it.
Wait till you're a pro. You'll be waiting a long time.
Yeah.
So
and how did the name Believe in the Run come into fruition?
Well, there's Baltimore and the Believe movement and all that stuff, and I think I'd seen like a Nike ad or something. I was like, okay, cool. And just searched domains for different names, and like Believe in the Run stuck, and went with that.
That's awesome.
It's a catchy name, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's stuck. That's really great. But now I think one of the things that our team has admired most this year is the way that you guys, in the midst of COVID and the impact that's had on everybody, especially from like a social perspective and the lack of community that we've been able to feel. You guys did something this summer with Grit and creating your groups on Facebook, your Believe in the Run group, and some other things that have created this, just from our outside perspective of it. Also, we're kind of part of it. Like, I'm in that group, and being a part of that, being able to experience that was something special. So tell us about how Grit, for those who don't know, what was Grit and how it came to be and that kind of thing.
So Grit was the summer distance project, and we got Polar Global and ASICS to be our title sponsors. We also had Running Warehouse as a sponsor, and Firefly Recovery, and Dave Ames helped out with coaching. And I think you guys have reached out to Dave to do some chats like this. So
he'll be coming on here.
Yeah. So what you don't know is, on the flip side, so we have believeintherun.com, which is our website. And then we also are Big Run Media, and our Big Run Media is it's our marketing agency where we help other companies market it. And we have a lot of events on that side. And so when COVID hit and a lot of our events were getting canceled, we were like, you know what, let's see if we can put on something virtual and how we can demonstrate our marketing skills and tie it in with Believe in the Run and see how it goes. I mean, there's really nothing for us to lose. And we can raise some money for a charity that is near and dear to our heart, which is the Donna Foundation, which is also a client on the Big Run side for the Donna Marathon weekend in Florida. So we put grit together and thought, what would suck really bad? And running in the summer and upping your mileage.
Yep.
Yeah, that sucks.
It does.
That'll show you some grit. And as PTs, you guys should probably be against it because just like you were mentioning, it's a great way to get people injured. But we did distances of
gives us
so
business. So I'm not complaining. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, there you go. We did distance challenge. So we tried to do it from a challenge for everybody from the novice to the higher level, experienced runner. So we did 25, 75, 150, 225, and 300 mile that you had to complete within 30 days. So you had all summer to do it. You could start, but you had to complete it within a 30-day window. Mm-hmm. And we were kind of surprised because we thought, okay, people will do it. We'll give out some good swag. And, basically for the cost of what you normally buy a t-shirt for, we gave out a buff, a t-shirt, stickers, temporary tattoos, and an enamel pin. And
a chance to win some meta racers.
Oh yeah. And we gave every week we gave away ASICS shoes and polar heart rate monitors. And then the finale was people won for each distance. We gave away a $600 package to ASICS and a polar grit watch. And it just was, people signed up and then people were like, can I sign up again? And we're like, you really want this whole package again, another t-shirt? So then we were like, all right, we'll make it the double dip. So if you want to do two, you can do the double dip. And we worked with our partner at ASICS and they provided sweatshirts, hoodie sweatshirts, and we put the double dip logo on it. And so people did would finish their mileage and sign up again for another round. So it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we were able to donate $11,000 to the Donna Foundation, which was pretty cool.
Wow! Congrats! That's awesome.
What a cool thing! That's awesome. Yeah. Well, let's start talking about what we talk about a lot on our respective websites. Let's start talking about shoes. I think this could be potentially considered like the year of the racing flat in a lot of respects. A lot of these companies are coming out with big marathon races.
I don't know if you can call them flats anymore.
That's a good.
I agree with Thomas on this. They're like lightweight training.
Racing stacks.
Yeah,
racing stacks.
A good one.
We just coined that right now.
Yeah,
the racing stacks. But we'll give you the nod for it.
Yeah, so we can co-brand.
Yeah, you're the racing stags.
Yeah.
So we can kind of dive into the shoes as we go through maybe, but I just wanted us all to kind of pick not necessarily what we think is the best. Let's not go there because I think that's a weird conversation, but we can at least pick our favorite.
Yeah, the one that we enjoy running the fastest in.
Yeah, like which one's our favorite racing stack shoe? And so let's do that and kind of just see where things roll.
All right, who goes first?
I feel like Matt's going to go first.
Oh, Thomas, you got to go first. I want to hear this.
Mine's so boring.
Okay, there it is.
Okay, that is boring. All right.
It's so boring. I know. They're on top. If people aren't watching this is the Alpha Fly. It's like running on. Have you ever been to like one of those gymnasium places where they have the trampoline floors?
Yes.
It's a lot like that.
Those are also really good for business. Those trampoline parks.
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing the hips just are going to explode at some point. I'll be running and my hips will just disconnect. But before that, for me, it's the Next Percent. And nothing has really come super close to those two shoes. And that's why it's boring. This year has been great because there's been more options and stuff are coming in, especially, I think, he's holding up the Endorphin Pro. And was that the Pro? Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Skechers Razor Plus. The thing is, though, they're close, but there's still an edge that I find in the shoe. But I would say I have a really good foot for shoes. Like I have a
Mm.
high arch, narrow foot. It looks like a last. So
Mm.
a shoe like the Nike works for me. I think now that there's other opportunities for other shoes that maybe have better uppers, better, I don't even know what I would call it, like contouring and
Mhm.
deeper toe box, more volume. There's a lot more choices out there that are reasonable that I would say fall into a good spot for runners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go next because I have not ran in either the Next Percent or the Alpha Fly, so that can't be my answer. So I'll bring in a different shoe into the category. I was kind of between two, but I'm just gonna. And this one is like probably one of maybe the least flashy options from the year. But I love running in it. It's the Speed Elite from Skechers, and it's one of the more oddball ones, I guess, of the whole. It's the least amount of stack of all these racing stacks. I love that term now.
Have you seen the new one coming from them?
Some sneak peeks. Not that one.
I don't even want to I don't want to say the name of it out loud.
There's a couple ones I know that all four of us
not
can't talk about. So yes, but we can't say it on here.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how that will work for you compared to that.
To this one. And so I think part of why I love this one so much is I've been trying to break an hour and a half in the half marathon for 3 years, and I failed 3 times. And then I did a virtual one by myself. My half marathon was the week when everything shut down. So it got canceled like the 2 days before because it was right during the shutdown. And I ran it in these guys and I got my goal. So I think that's a huge piece of like, this just has
It's
that
hard
fond
not to love
memory.
a shoe that gets you a PR.
I know. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at with this one. And I love the winglet plate worked really well for me, like not having it full length and having kind of a tip. I'm a heel striker, and it just felt really good landing on hyperburst, which I just enjoy.
See, yeah, that's my issue with that shoe. It's a little firm. I don't land on my heel. I land pretty much midfoot, and you'll see that the winglets. I kept thinking that the durometer of the hyperburst was higher in that one.
Mhm.
It's not. It's that the way the plate comes over makes that shoe feel really firm on the toe.
On the toe.
You're
right.
holding up the.
That's
saying,
so go for it, Thomas.
I was saying you were holding up the Razor Plus, or the
Razor Elite.
the Razor Elite. That has a front-loaded plate, but I have trouble feeling it in that one. Whereas in the Speed Elite, that sucker, I think it's just the way that my foot lands. That is just too much, like hard.
Yeah, David has used the phrase that it feels like a track spike on the road, just with the way, and I think it's just fun, and you can really like this can grind down to your 5K for me can like really be fun for that too. So, yeah, that's my pick.
Thomas brings up a really good point. Is that what the plates? So everybody's getting all excited that plates like improve your performance, stuff like that. From the literature, they really don't make that much of an effect. I'll take this as Nathan has to go check on the little ones. Thomas, they do exactly what you said. Is they stiffen up the sole. That's what plates do. Is they just increase the stiffness. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to improve performance, but it will certainly change how the shoe feels. And that's why everybody gets really excited about these plates and stuff like that. But you got to remember that a majority of it is coming from. There's a good portion that comes from the foams, but it's also how everything works together. And I think that the Alpha Fly and the Vaporfly for a lot of people has gotten those factors right, but it depends on the person. I'm someone, both the Vaporfly and the Alpha Fly do not work for my mechanics for whatever reason.
How do you land?
I right places, but mostly heel striker.
Okay.
In the Alpha Fly,
He might be the most aggressive heel striker I know.
I'm known affectionately as a destroyer. Whenever I send shoes to David, he's like, "Is there anything left of this? There's only 40 miles in here." And my comment will be, durability on these was great compared to the other shoes. So I typically am the heel striker and the Alpha Fly. I let the pods get me up, and I've seen my gait does change in those, but because I think the way the rest of the shoe is set up and the Zoom X is just not stable enough for me. So I tend to need a little.
See, that's a crazy point you bring up though is because when you talked about, because it changes the way you run.
Mm.
And it's weird, the Nike Tempo Next Percent shoe, which is supposed to be the training partner to this guy.
Supposed to be.
It makes me want to land on my heel
Mhm.
because it feels better if it rolls through a little bit. Because if you land right here, it's kind of like you're just slapping the ground. And so it makes me want to land further back. And then I don't enjoy the ride of the shoe as much because then everything just feels a little bit off.
Right. So that's why
Understandably.
certain shoes might shift your mechanic because there's Zoom X in the heel of the Tempo Next Percent, but not in the forefoot, correct? Is that
It's got React foam that kind of goes. So imagine if you're looking at this, all this is basically React foam, which is heavier. So it also sits back heavier on the foot. So it's not as well balanced as this. And I'll be honest with you on this one being my pick, I mean, you can see I've got some wear on it, but I've run a marathon in this. I know the Vaporfly Next Percent works for the marathon. This one I just like it feels like nothing I've ever run in before. It's light and it bounces, and I do feel like it's a bounce and then a flick with the plate. So you get that cushion with the Zoom X and then the flip. I totally just destroyed your conversation. Went off to the
that's fine.
the
Oh boy. There's no script. It's just whatever
All
comes
good.
out. Great.
Yeah.
So my choice though, it's interesting that I have two different choices. For running fast, I have really enjoyed the Razor Elite, as it's not very common to find super lightweight shoes anymore because most of the stuff is, like you said, is to coin Thomas here, was the racing stacks. So see these super high stack shoes that don't, in my mind, you can move fast, but there's just having that much shoe on your foot. It's not quite the same as a guy who really loves moving faster than 5K and used to like really minimal shoes. I like that there's still some cushion here, and I only feel the plate, Thomas, when I actually like am going at 5K pace or below. Anything?
Okay, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to, like, to me that feels a lot like straight up Razor.
Yeah.
You know.
And I don't notice weight difference until I pick the pace up. I'm like, this is different than the Razor. It's only an ounce difference, but it's still it's different just because of the
What do you think about the upper on that shoe?
Other than the bleeding into my socks, I actually like it. Initially, I thought it wasn't going to give me enough security, but then as I started running, it usually disappears. But I do wish they had a last eyelet here. That was my one disappointment. So I can't wait to put the shoe.
Oh yeah.
But it is definitely.
Didn't they put the runner's loop eyelet on the Razor? Is it the Razor Plus that's the daily one? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. They did. Yeah. So that is there. But I have to say this has been good. I'm still enjoying the Endorphin Pro because it matches my mechanics. This is I'm not like David. I'm not a bouncer. I am a grinder. I'm like, if you watch me run, you'll be like, how is he going forwards? And so this shoe tends to work really well with my mechanics. Like I managed to get a pair at the Olympic trials. And then while I was watching my fiance run, I did like 20 miles just jogging back and forth in the shoe, and it was great. And I felt great the next day. And then had to go run additional 4 miles to go find crutches for her because we thought she had a stress fracture. So I did pretty well. So this.
Let me ask a question.
Yeah.
Are you running? Have you run? Because it seems overwhelmingly people are loving the speed, the Endorphin Speed over the Pro.
See, I think Nathan's going to have to talk to you more about that one. I like the Pro because for me it was more stable. The Speed was less stable for me. I can see why people like that, but I'm going to give that to Nathan. Before I give a quick surprise shout out that I have liked this shoe a lot more than I expected. And so the Rocket X has been really interesting. It's not necessarily my top, but it's interesting.
You just told me what your heel strike was.
Yeah.
And then you tell me like the Hoka, and I'm not surprised because that one is of the speed shoes has the most rocker feel to it.
Yeah.
And I actually think that shoe and the RC Elite from New Balance are super similar.
Got it. We haven't tested that one yet, so that is supposed to be on the way.
Get that one on your feet. If you like the Rocket X, then I think you'll dig the RC. I would be really interested, because the big difference is that I think the RC Elite has a softer heel, and I don't know that you'll like that, but it does transition, and it has a really good, like an aggressive grip to the forefoot.
We'll have to see on that one.
That one definitely intrigued me. I think the other thing about the Hoka Rocket X is, like, I don't have it in my hands, but all of the, like, a lot of the plates have this kind of like top to bottom design where they start close to the foot and then it comes down, kind of that S curve. But the Rocket X is like flat across the bottom, which I found really
Is it flat or arced a little bit?
It's like with the rocker sole, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like it bows, and that was a weird thing, because you really feel that, like, kind of like roll through.
It mirrors the rocker.
Yeah, the Carbon X, it's like the Carbon X on a diet.
Yeah.
That's a great it was the sleekest looking Hoka I've ever seen. Like,
aesthetically, it's really nice.
It doesn't have those huge, lateral flares. It just looks nice and sleek. But yeah, so I was personally, from between the Endorphin Speed, I'm in the unpopular opinion group. I think where I didn't vibe with the Speed.
That was
personally
on my part. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was not the Pro has worked for me well, but the Speed, I just couldn't. I don't know exactly what it was. It's been a while since I've ran it, so it's hard to remember. But there was something about the heel and having the nylon with their PB foam versus the carbon plate for the heel for me as a heel striker. That's where I just felt like I would like hit, and I felt like I was, wobbling back and forth until I would come forward. And but that's just more of a personal opinion thing than, is the shoe better than one or the other? But
someone described it well for me the other day. They said it's a shoe that when you go out for a run and you're not trying to run fast, and like one of those days where you're like, I don't know how I feel today, we'll see how the run goes. It's the perfect shoe for that, because you can run easy in it, and then if you feel like picking it up, it'll perform.
That's a good point.
I agree completely. Yeah, so for me, between the Speed and Pro, I do like the Pro more, but the Speed is used in my rotation a lot more, and I feel like there's not many shoes you can compare to it. Whereas the Pro, you have a lot more, I guess, competition in terms of, say, the Alpha Fly, the Rocket X, RC Elite, Speed Elite, all of those shoes.
Adios.
Endorphin Speed.
Pro.
Yeah, Adios Pro. The Speed is just used in my rotation a lot. I don't need a lot of stability. So, like, in terms of long runs and things go, I love using the Endorphin Speed. But I will say I like the Endorphin Pro more, because I do like a firm toe off and a really responsive feel. But as far as like my shoe goes, I'm siding with you on this one, Thomas. The Alpha Fly is unlike anything I've ever run in. I mean, It's so responsive to the point that in my review, I'm like, you guys got to be careful with this thing. If you can't control that motion, you might hurt yourself. Like,
walking in it is not a pleasurable experience.
No,
you don't want to be walking around
by any means.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with the tempo, next percent.
But yeah, it's like a little rocket ship, and it's very protective as well. But you just have to make sure you can control that motion. And if you're able to keep yourself under control, it responds really well.
Yeah,
so
and people complain about it turning and stuff, but
I took
some decent turns, and it's not like it's not that bad.
Yeah, but I do got to give a special nod to the Razor Elite from Skechers, because I mean the thing is only like 5-point-something ounces. It's crazy light, and it's very protective for how low stack and how low profile it is. And so I did a 5K a couple weeks ago, and I had to sit down with myself and really think, like, do I want to go Alpha Fly or Razor Elite? And the decision was actually made the night before, and I was Razor Elite all the way up until the last minute, and I decided to go Alpha Fly.
And was it a good choice?
It was a good choice. Yeah, it was more about my own fitness and having my legs protected late in the race. Yeah.
Yeah,
I regretted it the whole time. No.
I've been recovering from I was doing box jumps, and I pulled something, I don't know, from the back to the front of my whatever. And so it's taken me, I'd say almost 5-6 months to just kind of like get back to a point where it, like, even like last week when I would run down hills, I just didn't feel like my hip was working right. And when I would try to pick up the pace, I just didn't have any power on my right side. So it's just starting to come back. And I signed up for the Boston Athletics, like 5K, 10K, half marathon challenge thing. And I have the 5K tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
Oh, nice.
So, I'm debating what shoe to wear and all this, and I'm totally not in shape. Like, I'll be happy if I can run this 5K in like low 7s, and that's where I feel like the Speed Elite, I think you have to be faster to really, really enjoy that shoe. Like, I think, you guys, you're dropping, into, I mean, what's Matt? What's your 5K PR? Is like 15 something?
My PR is 14:45, but currently.
Okay, sorry about
that. It's okay. I'm not in that shape right now. I'm not. Like, I'd be happy if I could run what you just said right now. So
yeah, but you know what I'm saying. So the efficiency and the lighter weight runner, I think, gets a lot more out of the Razor Elite, where I feel like Vaporfly and Alphafly, and even you get into the RC Elites and the Endorphin Speed Pro or Pro. Those you don't have to be as fast to get a benefit out of the mechanics.
Yeah.
This is actually something I talked to Simon Bartold about this exact fact. And so a lot of people are jumping in different shoes. So that was, and I say this as a recovering minimalist, right? So that the minimalist concept is a great idea, but that kind of shoe is only going to work for a small portion of the population. A lot of people are not, they haven't spent their whole lives running at an elite level, and their body may not be optimized to shock absorb that much. And that's why having a shoe with this much cushion is not a bad thing, right? So we make fun of the maximalist shoe stuff, but these types of shoes are working for a much larger variety of people, right? Because to be able to run in something like this, or the Speed Elite for marathon, the Speed Elite was designed as an elite shoe, was an elite level running shoe for elite athletes for that distance. Not a lot of people are going to be able to do that. And that's not bad. It just means that you have to figure out what works for you. And for a lot of people, the Vaporfly, the Alphafly, the Endorphin Pro has been working great. And if we can somehow get people out there running and racing and going, hey, I can run faster and not have to worry about being as banged up, that's not a bad thing in my mind, right? It's getting more people running.
I haven't read the study myself. I'm like lazy when it gets to this stuff. But there's actually a study out there showing that the Vaporfly actually benefits like the 4-hour marathoner more than it does the 2 hours and 9-minute guy, which who knows. But they said just because it's the mechanics of how it helps you through your stride and the cushioning you get over the distance for the marathon, that your legs are going to feel fresher and this and that. So when I see people kind of like fast shaming people for wanting to get in one of these speed shoes, and like we said, this is kind of the year of the speed shoe. So like, if you want to get excited about a shoe, you pretty much got to look to the plated shoes this year. I always feel bad. Like I consider myself a middle of the packer. My PR for the marathon is 3:20. Last fall, the last race I ran before we went into COVID land, I ran a 3:26. Which that for me, I love it. That's a great, it was a great race for me. I felt good about it. But, I even see like, people want to say, okay, well, if you're going to be qualified for Boston or running a 2:10 marathon, then you deserve to have that. You shouldn't be buying up the Vaporflies. You shouldn't be on Nike buying it up. And I'm like, it's still fun for everybody. And if it makes me happy to get up to the line, and I'm a 5-hour marathoner and I just dig the look and I like the feel and it gets me running, buy up the Vaporfly, get it, or whatever shoe you want.
Yeah, and that's a great point too, as far as the middle of the pack goes, because if you take a look at, say, a 350 to a 320, that's going to be a much larger marginal difference between, say, a 220 and a 215.
Yeah.
The percentage.
I've seen that article.
Oh,
By
no,
the way,
yeah.
Thomas, that is a great article, and I really hope that more people take some time to read it, because what it really says is that people shouldn't be afraid to use these shoes. I really want to give a shout out to Jameson Michael, who talked about this on our last one, that, you know, a lot of times you have these people that get scared away from running or thinking about trying to do anything to improve themselves, going, hey, I want to try this shoe because it might make this better. Running should be for everybody. And right, if you choose to utilize a tool that might make you better, it doesn't matter if you are a 2:10 marathoner or a 6-hour marathoner. It doesn't matter. It should be something, a community we can welcome people into and go, you know what? Yeah, try this. Because it's not about, are you better than this next person? Is going, how can you be a better expression of yourself? So again, shout out.
It's also, it's also, you look at when, only a small handful of us are Olympic qualifiers or, elite Scott Faubles of the world. And, when you start getting off the front pack and you start going into the next tier of speed, there's always somebody faster than you. There's always somebody who's going to have a better day than you and run. There's also people who you're going to beat, but, when it comes to shoes, we get snobby, we get picky, but look, the great thing is that everybody is democratic. If you want to buy the shoes and you want to spend the money, you have every right to be in that shoe.
Yeah. I think that's,
completely.
Awesome.
So, Thomas, do you want to give any glimpse into kind of what's the future for Big Run Media or Believe in the Run before we wrap up here?
Yeah, I mean, we just want to keep growing the Believe in the Run audience, and we're enjoying what we do. So we're kind of to the most part, I probably should look around more at everybody and what everybody's doing, but I pretty much we're working so hard to do what we're doing. And, we just want to continue to pump out good quality stuff that's entertaining and fun. And it is the kind of stuff that, we want to bring to the running community. So we're doing stuff and our plan is to continue to grow everything from our apparel stuff to our podcast that we just started. We have, matter of fact, today's podcast is with Brian Metzler. I don't know if you've ever spoken to him, but you should probably have him on as a guest. He was actually really, really fun to talk to.
We would love to have him on.
And what's that?
We would love to have him on. We never talk with him, but we certainly know who he is. So
shoot him a DM on Instagram. Right. Yeah, I mean, he's in Running Shoe Geeks as well. But yeah, he's great. He's like the first generation, sort of like when magazines were really the only place that you could go for shoe reviews and that kind of stuff. Brian was part of that
nice.
Scene. But yeah, growing the podcast, growing our YouTube channel, growing the Instagram, the site, the website, and we love doing stuff like we just did with Diadora, where we get to go to the headquarters and launch a shoe for the, with them, and kind of like just like we love, like I get an adrenaline rush still. I've got a wall of shoes, but when we get a new shoe that I'm excited about, I can't wait to go out that next morning and put some miles on it and just see what it feels like. And,
your crew are great people to have in your corner as like a footwear developer. I think of even what you did with Atreyu too, helping them get off the ground, and, you have your own kind of special shoe that they developed, and just awesome. And, if you haven't checked out Believe in the Run stuff, our encouragement to you is to go read their performance reviews on their footwear, and they do a lot of apparel testing as well, and you should check that stuff out. Their podcast, I believe, is called The Drop.
Yep.
And if I looked into it a bit, and you put kind of some background music that can kind of be with your. Did you not do that?
We took it out because we got feedback from some people. We were like, a guy was like, it was weird, because you couldn't really hear it. Like if you're driving in your car, you didn't really hear the music. And so we were like, okay, it's not really interfering. But if you put headphones on, it's like a heavy bass line. So it was like thump, thump, thump. And this guy was like, hey, it's giving me a headache. And I was like, okay, let me check it out. And I listened to it and I was like, it's not the greatest experience. I talked to Robbie and I was like, Robbie, what do you think? He's like, let's lose it. So we lost it, but we still keep.
So you dropped the music from the drop.
Yeah, it's true. We literally go by the, like, I don't need to be, like I said earlier, I don't need to be a pro to do something.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna qualify for the Olympics in running. I still run. We're not the best at the video. We still do video. We will just continue to try to get better. So the podcast, the feedback was legit. We're like, let's scrap it and move forward what we're doing. We still give like some little breaks in between where we, try to check in with the runner, because if they're actually running, just see how you're feeling, just check in. Like this week, we talk about intentions of running, what your intention was getting out the door, that kind of stuff. But it's fun for us. We get to talk about this kind of stuff that we're into.
Yeah. So again, encourage you to go check out everything going on with Believe in the Run and Big Run Media. Thomas, we're so thankful that you gave us your time to come on here, talk about your background in running, your starting up at Believe in the Run, and talking a little bit nerd out on shoes a little bit is always a fun thing too.
It was my pleasure, and hopefully your kids are okay. I know you have to take 2
I jumped out
breaks.
twice. Not that anyone really cares, but our oldest, he doesn't really nap anymore. He just has rest time, and he'll hang out in his room for like 3 hours by himself. We're really lucky. But the first one was he had to go potty, and not that anyone needs to know that. And the second thing was he asked for carpet playtime. So I brought him some toys. Now he's playing on his carpet.
Nice.
It's all good. So
low maintenance.
Yeah. He's
throw a steak in there and he's done for the day. Good. No, hey, it was my pleasure. Love what you guys are doing. Like, it's great, and I appreciate. We all are obviously we all want the eyeballs on our content and doing that stuff. But I think we're creating sort of like this new era of like shoe review. Like I said, it was magazines. Then there was a few people online doing it. And now there's a larger group. There's YouTube people. There's, website people. There's podcast people. You're getting a little taste of everything. And, hopefully people enjoy what you guys are doing and stuff like that, what we're doing. So
appreciate it.
And that's, again, the hope is it's not about it. There's no such thing as a best reviewer, right? It's who works best for you. So our hope is that, and again, shout out to James and Michael again about this, is creating a community where we can provide good information for people and just help people. So that's the biggest goal. And I think, Thomas, you've done a phenomenal job of doing that in so many different ways. And that's why it's both an honor to talk with you and an honor to have you on. So it's great.
Oh, shucks. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, that's great. So anytime that you guys want to talk shoes or chit chat, we are up for it.
That's good.
Great. Thanks again, Thomas.
All right, cool.